Coming up on the report,
we will be discussing the latest updates in the case of Gabby Petito,
followed by the discovery of human remains during a search for missing New Jersey woman Lauren Cho.
And finally, we're going to go over the new bills Gavin Newsom just signed. All this and much more on this episode of The Report. Hi everyone, I'm Chris Adler.
I'm Amanda Mendoza.
And I'm Jorge Flores. Thank you for joining us on the Report Roundtable Discussion. Follow us on Twitter at The Report CSUF or on our Titan TV Instagram, Titan TV CSUF, to keep in touch with us and view our new content.
Teton County Coroner Brent Blue confirmed Tuesday that 22-year-old Gabby Petito's cause of death was strangulation. Initially, the coroner ruled her death a homicide, but couldn't release the cause of death because of the ongoing investigation. This comes exactly 1 month after Gabby's parents reported her missing from her cross-country trip with then-fiance Brian Laundrie. Laundrie is now wanted on federal charges for unauthorized use of another person's financial debit card, that person being Gabby Petito. Though Laundrie is still a person of interest and not officially a suspect, the FBI is diligently searching for him throughout Florida. In response to the strangulation news, Gabby's friends told People magazine, quote, "She must have been so scared," end quote. So, I mean, are we surprised by this? I think that this was expected and suspected.
Totally. And, you know, once again, from my personal view, my condolences to her and her family in overall, because it's a case that we knew that we were talking about toxic relationships as well. And I can talk about it from a personal point of view. We always got to be very careful to the person that we are with. And more because she was along with him going into the woods. And this also increased the probabilities to something bad to happen. Now, they're still looking for him. And there is no answer up to this moment. So that just gives me a sense of thought that maybe he should be like the only suspect within this case. And now that he already has federal charges, well, what can we think of this, right?
Exactly. I think it's very suspicious, the charges and everything that happened overall, because if he wasn't guilty, why would he run away? This was his ex-girlfriend or his girlfriend at the time. So don't you think he would have talked about what might have happened, you know, what he experienced, or what could have happened to Gabby? But instead, he runs away. No one can find him. And specifically, the strangulation charges is incredibly suspicious. And so honestly, I feel horrible for Gabby Petito's family and for what happened to her. But hopefully, at least with those other charges, the government will be able to prosecute him for something if they can't find him.
Well, it's interesting because, like you said, Amanda, this is somebody that it was his fiance. She lived with him. The parents came out and said that they never saw any signs. His sister said they never saw any signs of them fighting before, which usually in a domestic violence case, and I can speak from experience with people I've known, you see signs. You see them trying to isolate them. You see them trying to control their lives. But with Brian Laundrie, they said they never saw any of those signs. So I think that that's why this went under the surface for so long. Now, the search for Brian Laundrie, they're searching for him in Florida. Honestly, do you really believe that he's in Florida? Or do you think that or the police on a wild goose chase?
That's the thing. And it's very interesting to me because a person that, in the case that you are being looked by the police, of course you're going to go out of your zone of comfort. So you're not going to stay in your own state. Now, I like something that you mentioned, Amanda, that yes, he went missing. I mean, there's no reason why he was like, oh, okay, you know, maybe I'm getting a little nervous. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to talk to the police. I mean, he for sure went away. And that's a clear sign of the things that the police should be looking at, that he's the only suspect. And they should be doing more than just looking within the state. For me, that's unacceptable. And hopefully that some of our authorities can take an action on that.
Exactly. Hopefully they find him soon and that he's able to face the consequences with what might have been his actions from what we could see from here. I know that all of our hearts are with Gabby's friends and family during this hard time. Now on to another heartbreaking missing persons case. Human remains were found Sunday in Yucca Valley while searchers were looking for 31-year-old missing New Jersey woman Lauren Cho. The San Bernardino County Sheriff said in a statement, quote, "Unidentified human remains were located in the rugged terrain in the open desert of the Yucca Valley," end quote. Cho, known to her friends as Elle, went missing on June 28th after she walked away from an Airbnb where she was vacationing in the desert with friends and her ex-boyfriend. Her ex reported her missing, saying she was in some sort of mental distress. The remains were taken to the county coroner, but it could take weeks to positively identify them. Critics have pointed out that Cho, who is Korean American, didn't get the massive media coverage that Gabby Petito received, who similarly disappeared on a cross-country excursion with her fiancé. Cho's family has not released an official statement, and authorities did not indicate whether they believe that the remains are Lauren Cho's. So personally, I do think that there's some bias here in terms of Gabby Petito being talked about a lot more in the news media than Lauren. However, I did read that recently the family actually did make a statement. And so they said, quote, "We realize that on the surface, the public information for both cases share some similarities. We understand the frustration many of you have expressed about how and why certain cases receive national coverage. Ultimately, these two cases are not the same, and the differences run deeper than what meets the public eye." End quote. So that's according to CNN. So essentially, some are saying this is a different case because she faced some mental distress and there might have been some mental issues. And so while I think that what happened are both tragedies, I think this is a really good conversation to have about why Gabby Petito is having more coverage than Lauren Cho. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, America has always been in love with the missing blonde woman. Unfortunately, that is a fact. It is a problem. With Lauren Cho, I think it's fair to say that I didn't hear of her name during the whole Gabby Petito situation. And this is, of course, not to take anything away from what happened to Gabby. What happened to her was horrible. More people should have been able to do more for her. The coverage, I feel that the coverage that Gabby received should be the kind of coverage that every missing person receives. And we're the media. We are the media. And I think that it starts here. We need to go out there and make sure that we're covering those stories because it has to start within the media. The media is the one who's taking over these stories and broadcasting them as expansively as they are. And as journalists, I think the solution is to start bringing these stories to light. And what happened to Gabby is horrific. But one of the good things that did come out of it is that we're starting to see that, yes, like Lauren Cho, there are other people missing that need this kind of attention. Imagine if this was your daughter, your sister, your niece. You know, it's devastating. Imagine seeing the coverage that Gabby received and your sister's missing. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with you, Crystal. I think that, like you mentioned, us as journalists, we have our duty to really represent our communities. So I'm just gonna replicate what you said. It's our time to make our job properly. And there are more cases like this. They should receive the same attention no matter the cost. It's still people who went missing and people who are dying. And only because we see Caucasian people on TV doesn't mean those are the only people that they're missing. There are so much other communities and minorities that they're still suffering. And most of the times are those minorities the one that they suffer the most because they're trying to get coverage, but they don't receive it. They ask for the coverage to us as journalists, and we don't give it to them. So it's our time to really make that difference today. And both of these stories are tragic, and we will keep you updated on any breaking news. You know, violence against women is a topic that isn't often discussed, but it's very important. After all that devastating news, it's nice to hear that California is moving in the right direction regarding sexual violence. California is now the first state to prohibit stealthing or secretly removing a condom during sex without consent. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the bill into law on Thursday, making stealthing a criminal act of sexual battery. This means that a person can sue another person for punitive damages as well as being criminally charged. California Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia initially tried to make it a crime in 2017 after a jail study showed that stealthing was rising among women and gay men. Garcia said in a statement, quote, "This law is the first of its kind in the nation, but I urge other states to follow in California's directions and make it clear that stealthing is not just immoral, it's illegal," end quote. Newsom also approved a bill that makes it illegal for one to rape their spouse, removing an exception to the rape law if the victim is married to the perpetrator. Garcia said, quote, "Rape is rape, and a marriage license is not an excuse for committing one of society's most violent and sadistic crimes," end quote. The question for today is, was this bill necessary? In my own opinion, I think yes. And I'm really proud of us as Californians because we are moving into the right direction. It doesn't mean that because you're married or because it's your girlfriend or boyfriend that gives you the license, like Garcia said, for us to commit this crime, because now it is a crime. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
Personally, I think it's sexual assault. Like I said, it's rape.
It is.
Because I think any bills that could prevent any two people or any more than two people who want to commit, who want to have sex, anything that could differentiate what's not consensual and consensual is perfectly fine by me. I think it's amazing because I think anyone who commits an act that is not consented from the beginning deserves to have some kind of criminal charge. So I'm happy that Gavin Newsom put this bill into act. I think that's really amazing what he's doing. What are your thoughts, Crystal?
Yeah, and especially even though prostitution is illegal, there are still women out there that prostitution is a means of income for them. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't be protected. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of women have turned to prostitution because of certain things that happened in their lives, and they're in that situation because of certain traumas and other reasons. But this protects them too. And this happens in the prostitution community. When a client is with a prostitute, I believe BBC reported that there was a prostitute who ended up pregnant because of it. She said, no, her strict policy is that she uses protection. How'd she get pregnant? She later found out that he did remove the condom during sex. But luckily, she didn't have any STDs. So we're talking pregnancy, we're talking STDs. But even in people who are not in prostitution in an intimate relationship, you completely violate the trust of the person once you do that. It takes a certain kind of person to do something like that. So is this law necessary? Absolutely. It's long overdue, and I'm really proud of Gavin Newsom for putting this into effect.
Exactly. I think it's scary that it's just illegal in California at the moment out of the states. That is terrifying to me. This is long overdue, and it shows that California really wants to protect its citizens, especially with women in mind. As far as fuel costs are concerned, people are not as relieved. Not just Californians, but Americans nationwide are feeling the effects of COVID at the pumps, as prices have skyrocketed without the usual drop we see during the fall season. According to AAA, the national average hit $3.27 a gallon as of Monday, up by 7 cents the past week. Gas has almost doubled since bottoming in April of 2020 after the start of the pandemic. Oil prices have risen to the highest they have been in 7 years just in the past week. Right now, only 8 states are under $3 a gallon. In some California cities, prices are over $5 a gallon. We are in the middle of an energy crisis, and experts are saying that heating bills may rise over 30% this season. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said in a press conference, quote, "We need to take steps to address short supply issues, and we also need to keep our eye on the long term and on the climate," end quote. Experts are saying prices could take months to come down and that it will also depend on demand. So I think this is really interesting, especially regarding the crisis regarding energy. So I recently read on the CBS website that Governor Newsom recently banned the sale of gas-powered passenger cars by 2035, but this applies to new cars, not older used cars. So also, according to the Washington Post, he banned SOARs, which are small off-road engines, such as gas-powered lawn equipment, by 2024. So I want to know, what are your thoughts regarding this energy crisis and how could Californians help out? Because when I read this, I was thinking of different ways to prevent use of gas. However, I realized though we could technically walk to places, we could technically use our bikes, scooters, etc. I think California is really a commuter place or commuter state, right? We really depend on freeways to get from place to place. So I want to know, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, in the first opinion that I have is that's going to be really, really hard for us to try to get this going, because, like you mentioned, I mean, we need a car for everything, even like to go for groceries. That for some other states, that's just like a basic need or a basic commute, and they can just walk. We have this difference that we need a car. At least what I can think of is carpool. If you have a friend, and that will be like my recommendation, then ask him, her, a group of people, and in that way you can reduce the gas, you can just divide the price, and then you can just pay the cost for you to be part of that group. That will be my recommendation. As far as my concern for electric cars in the future, well, of course, I would love to have an electric car. I would love to help the climate, right? That's our priority. However, once again, I think that's going to be a little harder for us that we are middle class, and we need to really work hard for us to get those kind of privileges. However, I think it's not that far away, and maybe in 5-10 years, the price for every single electric car is going to decrease, and in that way we can get one of those for us as well. So what are your thoughts?
Well, for someone who drives from Fullerton to La Habra, sometimes I make 3 trips back and forth between La Habra and Fullerton in a day. I'm really feeling this at the pump. It's like $75 to fill up my tank. I'm filling up 3, sometimes 4 times a week. My wallet is feeling it, that's for sure. But getting an electric car right now is not an option for me. And we're in school and I have to do this commuting, but carpooling is an option. Maybe cutting costs in other places where we have to reserve that money for gasoline. I mean, it is what it is, guys, and we have to deal with it. Normally in the fall, we do see that drop in. I look forward to the fall gas prices because I drive so much. And it's like we get through summer, that summer spike, but we're not seeing that. But this is also due to COVID. A lot of things, there's a lot of inflation right now because of demand and supply and demand. We see the cargo ships backed up with all of the inventory right now in the ports, and that's because of COVID. So we're now starting to see a lot of after effects because of COVID, and it's just something that we're all just gonna have to get through. Yeah. So. Well, if you're tired of paying super high gas prices, you might be considering an electric car, maybe a Tesla. Well, not all of us can afford that. But in case you hadn't heard, Tesla has officially announced they will be moving their headquarters from Palo Alto, California to Austin, Texas. This announcement comes from Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who dropped the news at a shareholder meeting last Thursday. Musk says this move is prompted by many things, including affordable housing and long commutes, causing problems at the current location. Musk said that there is, quote, a limit to how big you can scale in the Bay Area, end quote. Musk himself moved to Texas this past December. He did assure his shareholders that Tesla is not fully leaving California and stated that there will be a significant expansion of Tesla business in California. So, you know what, guys? I have a special place in my heart for Elon Musk and for Tesla and for SpaceX, because SpaceX is centered in Hawthorne, and that's where I'm from. And aside from the Beach Boys, most people don't even know where Hawthorne is. So I actually went to the high school where the Beach Boys went. So that's my claim to fame. But I'm sad to hear this. I really liked his presence here in California, and I'm just curious though. Do you think that he might be? And there's talk about him pulling SpaceX out of Hawthorne. What do you think?
I think that's a real possibility. Let's look at the benefits, right? So basically, Texas, because they're planning on moving to Texas, they don't have income taxes, but Californians could reach 13.3%. And according to the LA Times, quote, Texas gifted Tesla with more than $65.4 million subsidies, chiefly property tax abatements, to attract a Tesla factory to Austin. California has provided only about $15.6 million in state-level job development funding, end quote. But also on the other hand, essentially, California's handout of the company will create approximately 4,400 jobs, but Texas is paying about 4 times more to ensure only about 5,000 jobs. But in the end, I think it really depends on who it's going to benefit. It's going to benefit Elon Musk. It's going to benefit his company. So I can see a lot more companies moving out of the state. So unfortunately, I do think there's a chance that Tesla's going to start moving out of California.
Yeah, I agree with you, Amanda. And I think it's a trend that is just beginning. Since he moved, that's already like a sign for other entrepreneurs to start looking to Texas as the new place for them to start their startups, right? So I think, yes, it's going to really change the way they see entrepreneurship. Personally, I'm not that in favor of it because I always seen Silicon Valley as that prestige place for you to start your business. And now looking at Texas, it's that you really need to start getting into the environment and create a good environment for entrepreneurs. I think that's going to be also his job. What I do like from what you said, Amanda, is that that's true. That's going to benefit him and his company. And a key word here is cost of living. It's way different, the cost of living from Texas to California. And I think that's also going to benefit them and the employees and the company in overall. So totally, it's nice to see Tesla looking to the future after many companies were so unsure what would happen during the pandemic shutdowns. Now with some more local news, over the last 2 months, we have seen at least 5 altercations taking place at Knott's Berry Farm via social media. Young and old visitors are capturing on video hitting, pushing, and attacking one another. Last July, there was a drive-by shooting right outside of the theme park where 2 teens were wounded, creating a scene of panic and chaos. The report reached out to Knott asking them to appear on our show, but they declined, saying this is the busiest time of the year for them. A Knott's Berry Farm PR rep did state, quote, "We can confirm that we are not seeing an increase in altercations. However, the visibility of these altercations is amplified by the media," end quote. I got an opportunity to speak with Sergeant Chad Weaver on the Buena Park Police Department, and he did agree with Knott, saying that there has not been an uptick in reports, but that social media tends to make it appear that way. Sergeant Weaver also said, quote, "2 dedicated police officers are sent from Buena Park PD to man the park 7 days a week who work alongside Knott's park security," end quote. He continued on saying their sole responsibility is the safety of the park. According to Sergeant Weaver, Buena Park PD also sends extra police personnel during the seasonal Halloween hunt from Thursday to Sunday, when the park is more populated. The department also clarified that the drive-by shooting in front of the park in July had nothing to do with the theme park itself. So once again, we have these kinds of news, and it's important for us to once again say that, yes, the media coverage has a lot to do, but I do agree that we, the people, are the ones posting this on social media. For them, the business people and owners of this theme park, to know that sometimes we have these kind of situations and they have the power to control it.
Yeah, and also in speaking with Sergeant Weaver, we learned that he said, this is not anything new. It's just that the social media is highlighting it. We have phones everywhere. He said he has not seen an uptick in Knott's itself. He has not. The department has not received any more reports than they have that is unusual. That the social media is exacerbating it. So, which is good news to hear, because we don't want to think that this is going on in the theme parks, and it's important for us as media to clarify the truth. And so I think it's safe to say the police have it covered. We're not seeing a real uptick in these fights, and that's great news.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also consider the fact there are tons of teenagers, as we mentioned, at Knott's Berry Farm. And what do they like to do? They like to record things. They see anything happening there, like a fight. They're going to want to show their friends what happened and post it online. And also, I think it's important to consider that when people have one complaint about an area, other people are going to talk about the complaints they have with that area. And so it's kind of like a ripple effect, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think as long as the police says okay, I think we can ensure that we don't have anything to worry about, to an extreme degree, at least.
Yes. Well, are you guys going to make it to Halloween Haunt this year? I haven't been to Knott's in years. It's been a long time. What are you guys going to do?
I mean, I miss it. You know, I miss the experience. So definitely I'm looking forward to it. Of course, being always safe. But yes, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm excited.
I want to go to Knott's Berry Farm, but after Knott's Scary Farm is finished, because I am a scaredy cat and I can't take jump scares or people coming at me. So unfortunately, I don't think I'll be attending this year.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, but don't forget to subscribe to keep up with our news, views, and info to go. Have a safe week, everyone. I'm Chris Adler.
I'm Amanda Mendoza.
And I'm Jorge Flores. As always, tusks up.